Shakespearean Tales, The Comedies, Part 2. As You Like It. Most likely to have been written in 1599 when the author was in his mid 30s, As You Like It is an exuberant comedy based on Thomas Lodge's Rosalind, and it provides to the urban dweller a kind of rural or pastoral romance. In Shakespeare's plays, female roles had to be played by the male actors, and so, to make it simple, Shakespeare introduced the element of impersonation. Hence, the leading female characters in most of Shakespeare's comedies are seen to parade on the stage in male disguise. And in this play too, Rosalind appears in male attire. The play, As You Like It, has two principal settings: the court, where one comes across intrigue and betrayal and corruption, and the Forest of Arden, where, in a rejuvenating environment, love gets the chance to blossom. In their book Tales from Shakespeare, Charles and Mary Lamb provides the reader with a vivid description of Duke Senior's life of careless ease in the wilderness of the Forest of Arden, which he prefers to the treachery of court life. During the time that France was divided into provinces or dukedoms as they were called, there reigned in one of these provinces a usurper who had deposed and banished his elder brother, the lawful duke. The duke, who was thus driven from his dominions, retired with a few faithful followers to the forest of Arden, and here the good duke lived with his loving friends who had put themselves into a voluntary exile for his sake, while their land and revenues enriched the false usurper, and custom soon made the life of careless ease they led here more sweet to them than the pomp and uneasy splendor of a courtier's life. Here they lived like the old Robin Hood of England, and to this forest many noble youths daily resorted from the court, and did fleet the time carelessly, as they did who lived in the golden age. In the summer they lay along under the fine shade of the large forest trees, marking the playful sports of the wild deer, and so fond were they of these poor dappled fools, who seemed to be the native inhabitants of the forest, that it grieved them to be forced to kill them to supply themselves with venison for their food. When the cold winds of winter made the duke feel the change of his adverse fortune, he would endure it patiently and say, "These chilling winds which blow upon my body are true counselors. They do not flatter, but represent truly to me my condition. And though they bite sharply, their tooth is nothing like so keen as that of unkindness and ingratitude. I find that howsoever men speak against adversity, yet some sweet uses are to be extracted from it, like the jewel precious for medicine, which is taken from the head of the venomous and despised toad." In this manner did the patient duke draw a useful moral from everything that he saw, and by the help of this moralizing turn in that life of his, remote from public haunts, he could find tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything. The banished duke's daughter Rosalind was kept at the palace to be a companion of Duke Frederick's daughter till his displeasure rose against her as he heard the people praise Rosalind's virtues, and he began to think that everyone pitied her for her exiled father's sake. When Rosalind was asked to leave the palace, Celia too went along with her cousin, for the two companions were inseparable. Touchstone, the court jester, accompanied them. The theme of true friendship and love in contrast to the unnatural sibling jealousy and hatred, has been presented in the play As You Like It. In order to escape his elder brother's murderous intentions, Orlando, the play's hero, flees to the forest of Arden with his faithful old servant Adam. The idyllic ambience of the forest of Arden now becomes the scene of the main action of this comedy. Rosalind and Celia arrive in the forest of Arden in the guise of Ganymede and Eleanor. When in her male garb, Rosalind encounters Orlando carving her name on tree trunks and writing love poems upon leaves. She decides to speak to him like a saucy lackey and to play the knave with him, and she joyously banters with Orlando, claiming to cure him of all love sickness. Rosalind and Orlando previously met at Frederick's palace when Orlando sought to participate in a wrestling match. Rosalind gifted him with a gold chain after he emerged a victor in that match. Now, in the forest of Arden, Orlando is seen to wear that gold chain, but he fails to recognize Rosalind, who is in the guise of Ganymede. Rosalind finds not only safety in her man's attire, but also freedom and the confidence to speak her mind. She engages in scintillating conversations with Orlando, as displayed in Act 4, Scene 1. Although critics have commented that the mock marriage scene of Ganymede and Orlando has strong homoerotic overtones, the scene appears lively and entertaining to the audience. In delineating Orlando and Rosalind in this scene, the dramatist draws upon a kind of comic masquerade which is amusing. Rosalind plays a dominating role in As You Like It. She castigates Silvius for his irrational affections for Phoebe. She tutors Orlando in the matter of love, and she chides Phoebe, who scorns the affections of Silvius. In fact, Phoebe falls for Ganymede, thinking him to be a man, but the resourceful and witty Rosalind tricks her into marrying Silvius by extracting a promise that if she does not find Ganymede suitable enough to marry, then she would have to wed Silvius. Despite her boldness, however, Rosalind retains her vulnerability, which is evinced when she swoons at the sight of Orlando's blood-stained handkerchief. Like other romantic comedies of Shakespeare, love is the central theme of As You Like It, and it is demonstrated in many forms in the idyllic setting of the Forest of Arden. There is the true love of Rosalind and Orlando, the unrequited love of Silvius for Phoebe, the superficial love of Phoebe for Ganymede. Filial love and sisterly and brotherly love also find place in this comedy. The forest affords a change of hearts and a positive transformation of hearts for the evil brothers Oliver and Frederick. Oliver becomes penitent for his earlier wickedness. He experiences deep remorse when Orlando saves him from a lioness and a snake. Oliver not only experiences love for his brother but also for Celia. On the other hand, Frederick also abandons malice for his brother after meeting a hermit and returns to Duke Senior his dukedom. The play ends happily in feasting and dancing with the wedding bells ringing all around. The characters who had fled from the burdensome realities of life to find a peaceful refuge in the forest now return to their urban dwellings, redeemed and reformed. In the relationship between Touchstone and Audrey, one may find a satire or a parody of the pastoral convention. Touchstone, in wanting a temporary marriage, actually mocks the concept of ideal love, while Audrey insists upon a real marriage. Both Touchstone and Jakes do not quite fit the paradise like pastoral ambience, and there are other characters too. William is a fool, Audrey is without grace, and Phoebe is disdainful. All this reminds us that although the dramatist created a somewhat fantastic, idyllic atmosphere in creating the Forest of Arden, it is pitted against the harsh realities of life which cannot be altogether forgotten. Jack's melancholic remarks, in fact, draw our attention to the callousness that runs through nature and is reflected in man. Ironically enough, this malcontent critic who denounced country life from the start chooses to remain in the country. I end the discussion of As You Like It by reading out from Jack's famous speech, All the World's a Stage. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school, and then the lover, sighing like furnace with a awful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe, and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. 12th Night. 12th Night, or What You Will, is one of Shakespeare's finest comedies. It was probably written around 1600. The motive of female disguise continues in this play. Viola, a young woman, is swept onto the shores of Illyria following a shipwreck. She is separated from her twin brother Sebastian, who, unknown to her, is also cast ashore on a different place of the same island. But Viola, assuming that her dear brother is no longer alive, puts on male disguise to obtain employment in the court of Duke Orsino, whose predilection for Countess Olivia she comes to know of from a friendly sea captain. Duke Orsino then sends Viola, his new recruit, now disguised as Cesario, his page, to persuade Lady Olivia to respond in a positive manner to the Duke's passion. What follows is a complicated and amusing comedy with Lady Olivia falling head over heels in love with Cesario at first sight, blissfully unaware that the page with captivating looks and comportment is actually a woman. Here's an extract which I'm reading from Charles and Mary Lamb's Twelfth Night. Viola, dressed as Cesario, comes to meet Lady Olivia with a message from Duke Orsino. Viola, entering, put on the most manly air she could assume, and affecting the fine courtier language of great men's pages, she said to the veiled lady, "Most radiant, exquisite, and matchless beauty, I pray you tell me if you are the lady of the house, for I should be sorry to cast away my speech upon another. For besides that it is excellently well penned, I have taken great pains to learn it." "Whence come you, sir?" said Olivia. "I can say little more than I have studied," replied Viola, "and that question is out of my part." "Are you a comedian?" said Olivia. "No," replied Viola, "and yet I am not that which I play," meaning that she, being a woman, feigned herself to be a man. And again she asked Olivia if she were the lady of the house. Olivia said she was, and then Viola, having more curiosity to see her rival's features than haste to deliver her master's message, said, "Good madam, let me see your face." With this bold request, Olivia was not averse to comply, for this haughty beauty, whom the Duke Orsino had loved so long in vain, at first sight conceived a passion for the supposed page, the humble Cesario. When Viola asked to see her face, Olivia said, "Have you any commission from your lord and master to negotiate with my face?" And then, forgetting her determination to go veiled for 7 long years, she drew aside her veil, saying, "But I will draw the curtain and show the picture. Is it not well done?" Viola replied, "It is beauty truly mixed. The red and white upon your cheeks is by nature's own cunning hand laid on. You are the most cruel lady living if you lead these graces to the grave and leave the world no copy." "Oh, sir," replied Olivia, "I will not be so cruel. The world may have an inventory of my beauty. As item 2 lips, indifferent red. Item 2 grey eyes with lids to them, 1 neck, 1 chin, and so forth. Were you sent here to praise me?" Viola replied, "I see what you are. You are too proud, but you are fair. My lord and master loves you. Oh, such a love could but be recompensed though you were crowned the queen of beauty. For Orsino loves you with adoration and with tears, with groans that thunder love and sighs of fire." "Your lord," said Olivia, "knows well my mind. I cannot love him, yet I doubt not he is virtuous. I know him to be noble and of high estate, of fresh and spotless youth. All voices proclaim him learned, courteous, and valiant. Yet I cannot love him. He might have taken his answer long ago." "If I did love you as my master does," said Viola, "I would make me a willow cabin at your gates and call upon your name. I would write complaining sonnets on Olivia and sing them in the dead of the night. Your name should sound among the hills, and I would make echo the babbling gossip of the air cry out, 'Olivia!' Oh, you should not rest between the elements of earth and air, but you should pity me. You might do much, said Olivia. What is your parentage? Viola replied, Above my fortunes, yet my state is well. I am a gentleman. Olivia now reluctantly dismissed Viola, saying, Go to your master and tell him I cannot love him. Let him send no more, unless perchance you come again to tell me how he takes it. And Viola departed, bidding the lady farewell by the name of Fair Cruelty. When she was gone, Olivia repeated the words, Above my fortunes, yet my state is well. I am a gentleman. And she said aloud, I will be sworn he is. His tongue, his face, his limbs, action, and spirit plainly show he is a gentleman. And then she wished Cesario was the Duke, and perceiving the fast hold he had taken on her affections, she blamed herself for her sudden love. But the gentle blame which people lay upon their own faults has no deep root, and presently the noble Lady Olivia so far forgot the inequality between her fortunes and those of this seeming page, as well as the maidenly reserve which is the chief ornament of a lady's character, that she resolved to court the love of young Cesario, and sent a servant after him with a diamond ring under the pretence that he had left it with her as a present from Orsino. She hoped, by thus artfully making Cesario a present of the ring, she should give him some intimation of her design, and truly it did make Viola suspect, for knowing that Orsino had sent no ring by her, she began to recollect that Olivia's looks and manner were expressive of admiration, and she presently guessed her master's mistress had fallen in love with her. Alas, said she, the poor lady might as well love a dream. This guise, I see, is wicked, for it has caused Olivia to breathe as fruitless sighs for me as I do for Orsino. Gender confusion gives rise to comic situations in this play. Cesario, that is the disguised Viola, soon finds herself being challenged to a duel by Sir Andrew Aguecheek, one of Lady Olivia's suitors, and a friend of Olivia's uncle, Sir Toby Belch. Andrew Aguecheek is in fact a vain, foolish, and dastardly knight who is led to believe by Sir Toby Belch that one day Lady Olivia would marry him. Toby Belch incites Aguecheek to pick a fight with Cesario, the page who has been receiving too much of Lady Olivia's attentions. Then Sir Toby Belch and Fabian, another member of Olivia's household, conspire to arouse awe and dread in the hearts of both the contenders, that is Aguecheek and Cesario, by fabricating lies about each other's valor and deadliness. And this scene elicits great fun and hilarity. In the duel scene, we see that Aguecheek and Cesario quaver at the sight of each other and are reluctant to fight, but are being egged on to do so by Sir Toby Belch and Fabian. The original source of Twelfth Night appears to have been the story of Apollonius and Scylla in Barnaby Rich's Farewell to Military Profession, written in 1581. The play Twelfth Night derived its name from the 12th day festivals that were known for their riotous fun and mood of gaiety as projected by Sir Toby Belch and his associates Maria, Festi, Sir Andrew Aguecheek and Fabian. They comprise the boisterous revellers who relish fun by ridiculing Lady Olivia's steward, Malvolio. Malvolio is an upholder of decorum and sobriety, and he is a denouncer of all kinds of frivolity. He emerges as a comic antagonist in the play. He is duped by the forged love letters written by the conspiring Maria, and he is led to believe that the Lady Olivia loves him ardently, and he abides by the instructions given in the love letter. Malvolio appears before the much baffled Lady Olivia in yellow stockings, cross-gartered and constantly smiling. The incarceration of Malvolio, who is confined in a dark room as a supposed madman, and his cross-examination by Feste, dressed as a cleric, Sir Topaz, may appear to the modern educated audience as a bit harrowing. However, as the play's alternative title suggests, the audience may make out what they will of this comedy and derive entertainment accordingly. In fact, Shakespeare's Twelfth Night is regarded as his most perfect comedy, which poises on a well-balanced synthesis of the temperate and the boisterous. There is uproarious fun, rioting, singing, dancing, and merrymaking, and Feste, the clown, contributes to all the songs of the play. In fact, the scene between Feste and Malvolio inside the locked chamber can be seen as a conflict between the spirit of entertainment and Puritanism, which was looked down upon by the Elizabethan age. During Shakespeare's time, Robert Armin, a well-reputed actor, played the part of the fools. He had a good singing voice, and it is thought that he played the role of Touchstone in As You Like It and also Feste in Twelfth Night. The comedy ends on a note of reconciliation. Except Malvolio, everyone is happy. Lady Olivia marries Sebastian, Viola's twin brother, and Duke Orsino finds an apt lover in Viola. Here ends the discussion of Twelfth Night. Thank you for listening and watching.